So thank you again for looking at these videos. Today I'm going to talk about some of the fundamental commands, operators and conditionals that you can have in MATLAB. Don't worry, I'll explain what I mean by those three statements. For this I'm going to have these slides over on the other side. I might do this for a few of the videos. Basically, if you don't know, we had a short session in which we gave a presentation of this form to some of the other students, and these are basically to kind of go alongside that, to basically go over the same topic. So I'm going to use this slide because it's handy to have at the side of the screen, but what I'm going to be doing is mainly going to be on this side of the screen for now. So for this I'm just going to move the command window up because I'm only going to be showing you small things, so I'm going to be interacting with the command window instead of using the editor, at least for the most of the time. So you can see I'm first going to go through these commands. So some of the actions, hopefully the way I've written them is relatively self-explanatory, but we can go through them anyway. So firstly, clears all variables, so clear all. So first we're going to have to make some variables. So in MATLAB you can simply do it as something is equal to something to make a variable, unlike some other lower level languages where you might have to specify what the type is, whether it's a string or an array, before you start defining what the content is. In MATLAB you don't have to do that. In fact, you can change the content of a variable, the type of a variable, midway through a script, which is handy in some ways, but some people are used to it. Some other coding languages don't like this feature of MATLAB. So let's just create these three things: a equals 1, b equals 2, and c equals 3. So as we went over in the previous video, the workspace holds the variables. So you can see that I created these three different variables: 1, 2, 3. Now, if I use the clear all function, what this will do is this will basically remove them from the workspace. Now, a feature which I haven't gone over so far, is probably a good point to mention it. One thing which is very handy when you're using MATLAB is the fact that you can go through previous commands using the up button. So using this, I can't show you my up button, but if you just imagine, as you can do it, you do it yourself in your own time. If you press the up button, you can go up through the previous commands. So if you watch here, you can see that I can go through the previous commands that I've had. So I can go back up, and then I can do that if I wanted those variables, for example. Now, the next statement I've got here is close all. So it says close all figures. So first I have to create a figure. Now, one of the simplest ways you can create a figure is simply by writing figure. So if I press figure, and I've created this figure. If you go back to the command window and then go close all, you can see that figure's now gone, quite simply. Now CLC, that you can see here just below those two, is it says clears the command window. So if I just press CLC, and you can see that it's cleared the command window. Now the commands are still in the command history, and if you were to go up, you can still go through them. But CLC can be used almost to kind of clear out a bit of spring cleaning of your command window, especially if you've written a lot of things that you then want to get rid of. You don't want to see them. You maybe made some horrible mistake and want to get rid of it temporarily. Now, generally, it's good practice to have the clear all, close all, and CLC commands at the start of every script that you write. Now, there are reasons which you might not want to do this, maybe because you have a script which you've run, that then you wanted to run another script following this, but that's bad practice, really. You shouldn't be doing that sort of thing, because it can make things confusing. I mean, one of the reasons which you would want to clear all the variables and things before is because if you don't clear it, and then if you start another script where it maybe defines you've previously defined the variables in an old script, you might end up reusing those instead of defining them the way that you would have expected. So it's good to clear all the variables and be back to square one. Similarly, it's good to close all figures, otherwise you can have hundreds of figures turning up in no time at all, and they'll just waste your memory, and chances are that you won't want to have that many figures up. I don't know why you would. And CLC just clears the command window, which is quite handy. You can see I'm having some emails come up on the side. Just try to ignore those. So the next thing I've got in this list is this little semicolon. Now I've said that it separates statements and that it suppresses the statement display. So I'm going to go over what I mean by those two things. So if I write in a equals 1 and then just press enter, you can see that it's actually displayed in the command window a equals 1. Now this is fine because it's just one thing, and I was happy for it to do that. But if you've got maybe a list of 100 different lines of code, or maybe more than that, you wouldn't necessarily want it to print every output of those, especially if one of them is maybe a variable with over 6,000 by 10,000 points. You'll probably just freeze MATLAB trying to display all those variables. So the way that you can suppress the output of that is you just put this semicolon and then do it, and you can see the command is still run, but it hasn't displayed the output in the command window. So just do CLC and get rid of that again. And I said that you can use it to separate statements. So in MATLAB you can't really do something like this. Now it says that it's an unexpected MATLAB expression. Basically MATLAB's tried to see this as A is equal to 2B is equal to 3, which doesn't, MATLAB just can't handle that sort of statement. So what you can do is you can separate these statements by just putting the semicolon, and you can see that now MATLAB has no issue with it. So it's handy to be able to do this. So one thing that you can see below here is this use of this percentage sign. Now this is something that you're more likely to use when you're writing in the editor window. So I'm just going to show it in the editor window for this. So let's say I want to I've just done this percentage sign. You can see it's gone green, and that means that it's a comment. So if I go hello world, and then I can go display hello world. And if I just highlight that, so I've just done Command A on a Windows computer, it'd be Control A to just select the rest of that. Then you right click it and you can press evaluate. Now you can see it's just outputted this hello world. Now if I didn't have this bit commented and then did it, you can see it doesn't like that, because it tries to, basically how MATLAB sees that you've written that, it sees that hello is the function and world is the action that you wanted to carry out with that function, so it doesn't like that. So you use this percentage sign to just comment those out. Now good practice when you're using MATLAB is to make regular comments. So for example here I might put displaying hello world. If you're doing a long calculation, you might just want something very brief, saying maybe a reason why you're using a certain value. I work a lot with working with model data and things like that, data where you've got different processing, such as processing of remote sensing data, and some of the times you'll use standard values which are maybe defined in a certain paper. So what I normally do with this, I maybe use the value in this bit, but then I'll write a comment saying where I got that value, because if I look back through the script and I had to see a value, I may be confused as to where I've got that. So it's handy to use these comments, and it's not only handy for you if you look maybe back on the script even the next day or in a year or two even, but if you're going to send this script on to someone else, if you've got no comments and the person maybe doesn't understand how you write your MATLAB, because people can write MATLAB in a variety of different ways, then no comments means that they probably won't be able to understand what you've done. Whereas if you're well commented, they'll probably be able to follow, at least on a simple basis, what you've done. So the next feature that we can see below is this help command. Now help is a very helpful, surprisingly enough, is very good basically, because what it allows you to do is it allows you to ask MATLAB about a certain command or function, I should say. Now this you really need to know what the function is that you wanted to find out about, but one of the things that this help command does is it shows you how you use that command. So you may be trying to, let's say for example I'm wanting to find out how to use the minimum function in MATLAB, then I may know that the minimum function in MATLAB is just min, so I write help min. And what it does here is it basically prints out all the information it has about this function min. So it says that min calculates the smallest component, and you can use it in this sort of format, so min x. So x may be a variable, in which case it'll find the smallest number in that variable. Similarly, you can also define a dimension, so you might say the minimum value in x in dimension 2. And so you can use that sort of more advanced statement, but basically this gives you a good readout of all the different ways that you can use that function, and it even gives you a few examples at the bottom. So it's very helpful to use this sort of command. This video has gone slightly longer than I originally thought, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here, and I'll talk about the other sections of this PowerPoint slide in the next video. Thank you very much.